Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a documentary-style journey into the fascinating history of one of the absolute most influential automobiles ever created, the Citroën Traction Avant. We're going to explore exactly how this one incredible machine effectively set the entire template for the modern family cars sitting in our driveways right now.
So what if one single vehicle literally invented the future of driving, but actually ended up destroying the man who created it? It's a pretty dramatic hook, right? But that is exactly the dual legacy of André Citroën and his groundbreaking machine. You see, this isn't just a story about gears and metal. It's a tale of massive ambition, technological revolution, and the ultimate devastating gamble.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll cover the ultimate gamble, engineering the modern car, the tragic bankruptcy and takeover, its wild role in war, gangsters, and the resistance, the post-war model evolution, and finally, its enduring legacy. Let's get started.
Part 1. The Ultimate Automotive Gamble, Beating the Global Economic Crisis. Picture this. It's the early 1930s. The global economic depression is hitting Europe absolutely hard. André Citroën, whose company had actually become the fourth largest automaker in the world, desperately needed a breakthrough. He realized that constantly retooling his factories for new models was just too expensive. To survive the depression, he needed a perennial car, a vehicle so blindingly advanced that it would take the competition years, if not decades, to catch up. To pull off this massive leap forward, Citroën placed all his chips on one radically different concept. He named it the Traction Avant, which is simply French for front-wheel drive. Now, you have to remember, at a time when pretty much every car on the road was being pushed from behind by its rear wheels, this new Citroën was designed to actually pull itself along the road.
Chapter 2. Engineering the Modern Car, a Revolutionary Blueprint. Creating a car decades ahead of its time was no small feat. Citroën entrusted the design to his brilliant engineers, André Lefebvre and Flaminio Bertoni. Working under immense pressure, they managed to translate these incredibly advanced concepts into a mass production reality in just 18 months. Let's look at exactly what they achieved. And this brilliantly illustrates the core difference between the Traction Avant and its competitors. On the left, you've got the old standard, a heavy separate steel frame where a non-structural body was essentially just bolted on top. But on the right, that's the Traction Avant's innovation, a welded all-steel unitary body, or monocoque. The body and the chassis were one single, integrated, crash-resistant structure.
I mean, the feature list of this car reads exactly like a modern vehicle spec sheet. You've got that all-steel monocoque shell, front-wheel drive, and highly effective hydraulic brakes, right at a time when so many cars still relied on clunky cable brakes. It also had four-wheel independent torsion bar suspension to absorb bumps, which gave it an insanely smooth ride. And then by 1936, they added precise rack and pinion steering, making a handle like a dream compared to the heavy live axles of the era.
So, by ditching that heavy separate chassis, the design saved an impressive 70 kilograms of steel per car. But the real game changer was inside the cabin. It allowed the floor to be dropped way down. There were no running boards needed to step up into the car anymore. It created this sleek, low-slung stance with a flat, unobstructed floor inside, giving you incredible interior space and a remarkably low center of gravity. Moving to Part 3, Bankruptcy and the Takeover. The cost of revolution. Because, as you might guess, engineering the future doesn't come cheap. The development costs of this highly advanced vehicle, combined with the massive expense of completely demolishing and rebuilding the enormous Paris factory just to produce it, pushed the company to the absolute brink. Just look at that number. André Citroën accumulated a staggering 150 million francs in debt. It turned into this desperate race against time to tool up the new factory and rush the car to market by April 1934, before his nervous investors entirely lost their patience. Well, that rushed launch schedule, it proved disastrous. While the unitary body itself was solid, early models suffered from severe mechanical issues, especially with the transmission joints and those fancy new hydraulic brakes. The financial pressure was just too much. In late 1934, Citroën was actually forced to declare bankruptcy. Michelin, yes, the tire company, who was their largest creditor, stepped in and took control. And tragically, André Citroën, his health completely broken by the stress, died shortly after in July 1935.
Let's move along and see how this builds, because Michelin didn't actually kill the car. Through 1934, development progressed at a totally frantic pace. Michelin instilled some much-needed financial discipline, but they aggressively refined the vehicle.
The original 7A model from April was quickly replaced by the 7B with a bigger engine in June and then the 7C by October. They were just relentlessly fixing those teething problems.
Which brings us to Chapter 4, War, Gangsters, and Resistance. The car of the people and the underworld. As production finally stabilized and the car's reputation for unmatched handling grew, history intervened. The outbreak of World War II severely disrupted civilian production, but the conflict ironically cemented the Traction Avant's legendary status in French society. Its superb road holding, speed, and incredibly low profile made it the vehicle of choice for some vastly opposing factions. It was requisitioned and used heavily by both the French army and the occupying German Wehrmacht. At the exact same time, it became the iconic transport of the French resistance. You'd see them turn up at the Liberation with FFI proudly painted on the doors. Oh, and before and after the war, it was notoriously favored by bank robbers, most famously the Traction Gang, led by Pierrot Le Fou.
Section 5. Evolution of the models. Growing the family. Emerging from the ashes of World War II, peacetime production eventually resumed. The Traction Avant entered a whole new era, evolving into a wide family of body styles and engine configurations to suit pretty much every need.
Now, what's really interesting here is how these cars were officially named. They weren't named for their actual mechanical horsepower, but rather their fiscal horsepower, or CV, a French tax rating calculated straight from the engine's physical displacement. So that is exactly why you hear these models confusingly referred to as the 7, the 11, and the 15, even as their actual speeds and engines changed.
Looking at it all laid out, the Traction Avant family essentially broke down into three main tiers. The 7CV was the original, short wheelbase model. The 11CV featured a larger 1.9-liter four-cylinder engine and a longer wheelbase. That one became highly popular. Finally, the 15.6, or the Big Six, housed a massive 2.9-liter six-cylinder engine. There was also a mythic V8 22CV model shown in 1934, but Michelin canceled it to save money, and all the prototypes mysteriously vanished. Citroën also heavily utilized the extended wheelbases. They built a 9-seat Familiale, which was basically an early people carrier with 3 rows of seats. But the real innovation was the 11CV Commercial. It featured an elongated chassis and a 2-part folding rear tailgate that opened all the way up into the roofline. By providing that massive cargo access, Citroën effectively created the world's first hatchback. It was a total game-changer for tradesmen and large families. And under Michelin's ownership, Citroën operated almost like a cutting-edge research lab. In 1954, they literally used the 6-cylinder Traction Avant as a rolling testbed, introducing the 15.6H. That H stands for hydropneumatic. This model pioneered a revolutionary self-leveling rear suspension system, which was the direct predecessor to the legendary technology that would go on to define the iconic Citroën DS. Chapter 6. An enduring automotive legacy. 23 years of continuous production. After an astonishing 23 years rolling off the line, spanning a world war, a bankruptcy, and massive society shifts, production finally came to a close. André Citroën's vision of a perennial car had ultimately and spectacularly been vindicated.
So, the crucial point is that its legacy went far beyond just being a popular family sedan. It established the absolute template for the modern front-wheel drive unibody car. But amazingly, its lightweight cast aluminum alloy transaxle was so well engineered that British racing constructor John Cooper actually repurposed it. This very component from the Traction Avant successfully drove the mid-engine Cooper Formula One cars to world championship victories in the late 1950s. I mean, how incredible is that?
By the time production finally ended in July 1957, exactly 759,111 units had been built. And these were rolling out of factories not just in Paris, but across Europe, including right-hand drive models built over in Slough in the UK, as well as plants in Belgium, Germany, and Denmark.
It was known affectionately in France as La Reine de la Route, the Queen of the Road. Despite the immense tragic financial toll it took on its creator, the Traction Avant survived. It defined the roads of Europe far, far longer than André Citroën could have ever dreamed when he placed his ultimate gamble. Which leaves us with a final thought to ponder. The next time you walk past a modern family car, take a real look at it. Look at its stance, its front-wheel drive layout, its unibody frame. How many cars today still directly follow the revolutionary blueprint drawn all the way back in 1934? It turns out the answer is almost all of them. Thanks for joining us for this explainer, and keep your curiosity in drive.